Hi everyone, it's Debbie here. I'm the 3D modeler for Team Badriyah and the Stolen Pearl, and I'm here today with Dabia, who's going to be. I'm just watching the chat to see if you guys have any questions. But yeah, Dabia, you can introduce yourself as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Badriyah. I'm again joining, as Debbie said, joining on to comment and monitor your questions and also ask some questions of myself because this is new to me. I've never seen Debbie's workflow, so this should be a really, really interesting stream.
Yeah, thanks, Dabia. So the platform that I use for 3D modeling is Maya. You can get Maya, like a free trial of Maya online. And I think if you're a student, you can get it for free for 1 year as well. But yeah, this is Maya. You can use it to make really cool like 3D objects for your game, whether that's like environmental assets like houses, buildings, and other things, or like minimal objects like beds or chairs or tables and things like that. Um, I've already used Maya to make one of the like levels or locations for a game. But this is basically the Maya interface. It has a bunch of different options at the top. Mesh with different like booleans, combine, separate, edit mesh. You can connect different edges of the objects. And this sounds a bit confusing right now because I haven't really started it, but there's different a lot of different things that you can use Maya to do with your objects. But I'm just going to show you something that I've done with Maya so far before I actually get into the workshop, I guess. Okay, yeah, so I have a Badriyah folder here with all the different assets that I'm creating. So one of the main ones that I've made so far is Badriyah's house. I'm going to show you that now. Yep, hold on. So open scene, open the scene. Yeah, so this is Badriyah's house. Badriyah is our main character. Everything looks very gray right now because I haven't textured it. Texturing will come in later when I'm finished modeling the main objects. But you can see we have a traditional wind catcher here. And yeah, just balcony. I've started modeling a room in the house. It's just an empty room with a bed sheet. But yeah, so this is the, I guess, main thing that I've modeled. But today I'm going to be modeling our major asset in level 2, which is the castle. So after Badriyah finishes the task that she's meant to complete in her house, she's going to go to a castle to defeat, the jinns, the main villains in our game. So now I'm going to go back to the castle. Okay, so I need to create a scene. So new scene. Let's see if I can do anything. Okay, so new scene. I'm going to save it in the Badriyah folder by clicking project window. Yes, okay, it's already saved actually. So the castle that we're modeling for the Badriyah game is based on Jahili Fort. Dabia, if you can confirm that that's what it's called.
Yes, so yesterday's was a mix of two different forts, and today's is Al Jahili Fort in Al Ain, which is also like one of the most popular forts in the UAE. So it should be fun, yeah.
Yeah, so normally, well, typically for 3D modelers, when before you start modeling, you have to have a reference. So while I'm modeling, I always have to have like a picture in the background to, make sure that I'm doing the correct thing. So the first thing, I think I've already saved a picture inside the folder, but the first thing that I'm going to do is create an image plane. So an image plane is just, a flat 2D shape with the picture projected onto it. So you go to view, and then you click on image plane and then import image. And then I saved it in the source images folder. Hold on. I have so many files. Okay. Okay, yes, so Jahili Fort. This is the fort. So open that and, oh, actually I did something wrong. So something that I forgot to mention. So this is the perspective camera. So the camera where you can see an object from like all angles and just rotate it. By the way, I'm using a mouse. It's possible to use Maya without a mouse, but it's always good to use it. So this is the perspective camera where you can see like the objects from all angles. But if you click the space bar on your keyboard, there's different camera views. So there's the top view where you can see the cube from the top. And then there's the front view and the side view. So I want to put my image plane on the front view because that's, in my opinion, that's the best place to position the image plane for me to start modeling. So to go onto whatever view you want, you just put your cursor on the view and you press spacebar again to enter it. So then you go back to view and then you go to image plane, import image, and you go back to the folder. So Badriyah, all the way down. Yeah, Badriyah, assets, scenes. Okay. Source images is where you should save all your references that you're using. And then Jahili Fort. Yes, so Jahili Fort is right here where I can see it. So, and you can also see it in the perspective camera, but the front of it. Now, I'm not going to start with a cube. So I'm just going to delete that because as you can see, the fort is, well, just looking at it, it's made of like cylinders, right? So that's going to be the starting object that I'm going to use. So at the top here, you can see that there are different shapes that you can start with and that you can use the tools to manipulate. So I'm going to start with a cylinder. Yeah, and also one thing before I start as well is it's when I'm modeling like buildings and stuff, it's always good to have to model based on like the real life the measurements that you're going to use because I'm going to end up sending these assets to Etisham, who's going to be placing them into the scene in Unity. So I want to model it based on the sizes that he's going to be using. Okay, I'm going to use this cylinder actually as my human reference. So a woman, an average height of a woman is about like 160 centimeters. So I'm going to change that. So you go to the side here and you click on polycylinder 1. And the height, no, not the subdivision's height. The height, I'm going to change that to 160. That is Maya works in centimeters. So you see how huge that is, which means that, working on a very small scale. So I'm going to change the image plane. I'm going to make that bigger. So these are different gizmos at the side here. So this is move. So you can use this to move an object up and down, left and right, things like that, along the XYZ plane. This is for rotation. And this is scaling. So this is the one that I'm looking for. I'm going to scale that like super big because this cylinder is meant to be a human.
Debbie, I have a question. Do you not need all sides of the palace or the fort to model? Are you able to like create a full 3D model from this 2D picture?
Yes, so typically, for example, if I'm modeling characters, that's when I'd need like the front, side, and like the different views. But for this building, I like the front and the side views, for example, are going to be the same basically. And I'm using the image plane as more as like a reference for me. I'm not actually modeling exactly against that as I would with a character. So this is more for me to just like make sure that I'm going along the right path. If I did have like the side views and everything, then that would make things like much easier. But like when I searched the internet, I only like got these type of views. So this is all I have for now. But it's not gonna be like too difficult to model against this because it's like cylinder shapes. Everything is like all views are basically kind of the same. But yeah, that was a good question.
That makes sense. Thank you, Debbie.
Okay. So now I'm gonna make this sticker. Okay. So this is my human. I think I need to make the image plane much bigger. It's getting grainy now, but it's just for reference. Okay. And I could always scale it after as well, but this is just for the start. Let me also make this reference a bit thicker. Okay, so let's just pretend this is Badriyah. Okay. So I'm gonna start with, let me just move this to the side. I'm gonna start with a cylinder, and it's very, very small, but I'm just gonna scale and then click on the middle button to scale it like equally. So yeah, on the side, if you click on where it says inputs, click on polycylinder, which by the way, I forgot to mention, you should always like try to, if you remember, try to rename the different objects. So I'm just gonna rename the cylinder by double clicking. I'm gonna name it human. So that's my reference. And then this, I'll say castle, because that's gonna end up being a castle. Yeah, okay, so this is the beginning cylinder. Let me move it forward. Actually, let me move the plane backwards, far away. So let me still resize it a bit bigger. Now on the side where it says inputs, and polycylinder, you can see the different attributes. So the radius, height, subdivisions, height. The subdivisions axis refers to these lines that go around the cylinder. I'm not going to change that much. I'm not going to change that now actually, because I could always add edges like in the future with the different tools up here. So there's no need for me to do that now. But one thing that I am going to change is the height, because the height is, no, not the height, the subdivision's height, which is 1 right now. But you can see if I change it to like 10, there's going to be 10 lines. I'm going to change, because this has how many levels? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to change it to 3 for now. 1, 2, 3. No, I'm going to change that to 4. Yes. So this is our starting object. So looking at the fort, I can see that it's like, it looks like a bunch of cylinders basically inside each other. Like on the outside, it's wider, and then going up, it becomes smaller. So one thing that I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is start with extrusions. Now, just to demonstrate what an extrusion is, okay, I just made a cube. Let me resize that so I can see it. Okay, so this is the cube, and the cube has edges, it has vertexes, and it has faces. Right now we are in object mode, so everything we do affects the whole object, like scaling it or moving it. Now, if you want to work with the faces or the, actually, let me add more faces so that this is easier to demonstrate. So again, clicking here, you go to like maybe 5, add 5 for each. Okay, so now there's faces everywhere. So it's kind of difficult to explain this on the live stream, but I have my mouse, and if you put your cursor on the object and you hold down the the right button, you keep holding it down. While you're holding it down, you can see that there are different options. So we always start from object mode, but now I'm going to go to face mode. So yeah, I can click on a face and I can manipulate it like this, and this is how you create shapes. Or I can scale. I can also rotate and do things like that. So let's say I wanted this bit to stick out. You can see how everything is stretching around it. That's where the extrude button comes in. And the extrude button is actually the most, like, the button or the tool that most 3D designers use, because it's like the most useful in my opinion. But you can find that button by going to edit mesh, and then you go all the way down and then you click extrude. There are these squares at the end of these buttons are just like further options. So if you click on that, you can see different options, but there's really no need for you to manipulate that for extrude. So you click on extrude and then you can like move it out. So you see it's not stretching everything around. So that's one of the reasons why extrude is very useful. I'm going to be doing that for this cylinder so that it extrudes like all around the object. So delete that. Okay, so now going back here, I'm on faces mode. So I'm going to extrude all of them at the same time so that the sizes remain the same. So you can click on a face, you can click on faces individually. If you want to click on multiple faces at the same time, you hold down Shift and then you just click on them. Or you can hold down Tab and like drag it, but then you have to be careful not to touch other faces that you don't want to extrude. Okay. And actually, right now okay, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to extrude all of this at the same time. So you go to edit mesh and click extrude, or you can click Command E if you're on a Mac, or Control E if you're on a Windows. Extrude, and then you can control the thickness of the extrusion here by dragging this. Okay, so I'm going to extrude that. I want to see how that's going to look. Let me bring in the human reference to see how, let's say this is Badriyah, to see how she compares to this. I'm clicking spacebar to see the different angles to see if Badriyah is on the same level. Yeah, just making sure. Okay. So this isn't tall enough because I think the wall, or W, you've actually been here in real life, but like I'm sure like a human being will be very like tiny compared to the wall, right?
Yes, I think this is a bit too small. Just also basing it off of the. Can you hear me? You can, right? Just basing it off of the palm trees also. And I've been here a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact dimensions. I can look up, actually. Maybe we can look it up while you continue working. I'll interrupt you if I find out.
Yeah. And I can always, this is just like the starting thing. I could manipulate this later, but I'm just going to move on to the other faces. Or I can make it wider still.
All right, I found it interrupting now. So the fort is surrounded by a 6.5 meter high wall. So it is,
6.5 meters.
yeah. So it's definitely very, very tall. Taller
Yeah.
than Badriyah, at least, yeah.
Yeah, Badriyah, how tall did I make Badriyah? 160 centimeters,
Yeah, we made
right?
her short,
And
yes.
and how tall is did you say the wall is?
So 6.5 meters. So it's about, it's a lot. It's a lot taller than her. It's about 3 times Badriyah.
Okay. So I'm just going to scale this whole thing. So go back to object mode before you. So I'm just going to scale this whole thing to be bigger. Oh, it included Badriyah. Okay. Scale the thing. Dobby, can you do the math for me? How many times is bigger is
So,
the wall
so,
than
so it's 490 centimeters taller than she is if you're working by centimeters.
how many times
All
more
right, let's
like
divide it into 1 second. So it's, so it's 4.0625.
so like 4 times?
4 times, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make this bigger.
Okay.
So yeah, this is kind of how I work. I just try to make sure that the scaling is correct while I'm modeling, so Etisham doesn't have to struggle with that later. Let's make sure that Badriyah is on the ground. Okay.
Someone asked in chat, Debbie, do you have to scale the picture as well alongside the cylinder?
Yeah, so because I'm not modeling against the picture, so like let's imagine this was a character. Imagine this was like a character. Normally what you do when you're modeling a character is okay, so let's say I'm starting with a cube, scale it. And let's say I'm going to manipulate the edges. So if this was a character, I'd move these different components to fit the general like shape. Do you get what I mean? That's what I'm asking, like the person can answer back. But like so let's go to vertex mode. I'd move the um object base to like basically mold it to fit the image. So I'm modeling against the picture. But in this case, I'm not doing that. I don't need to because it's a fairly simple structure. I'm just having the image here. I could scale it, but it won't really affect me. The only reason why I'm scaling it is so that I can see it. Did you notice how it's disappearing? It's because the scale is so big that the image is starting to disappear. But yeah, I don't have to scale it exactly to fit it. I hope that answers your question. I don't have to change the image, but it's useful to change it just to make it easier. But yeah. Okay, so the wall is meant to be 4 times bigger. Right now, it's like double, so I'm gonna keep scaling it. The scale is super, super huge. But it's when you download it into Unity, it's normal because Unity works at a much bigger scale. Okay, Darby, I'm going to say this is fine for now because I'm also going to extrude it upwards later for the wall. But yeah, let's say this is it. Oh God, it's disappearing because the scale is really big. But yeah, so this is the beginning. So now I'm going to, wait, before I do that, let me see how Badriyah looks on the second floor. Okay. This is, I guess, enough space to move. I can always change that later. But yeah. Okay, so now we're going on to the next level. So we're doing the same process.
Debbie, let me interrupt you again. There's another question. It's like a follow-up question. Why don't you still use the sizes from the image as a guideline? So why don't you do it? I guess I'm not sure. Does that question
use the
make
sizes
sense?
from the image.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really understand the question. You mean like modeling it based on this?
I guess so. I'm not
Yeah,
really
I
sure. It's
think so.
in the chat.
So if I was to do that, that would make like the sizes correct relative to each other, but it doesn't really like do anything in terms of like the general sizes. So what I'm trying to do is model it based on the scale that Etisham is using in Unity. And Unity uses kind of like real life scaling. And this is kind of like asking Darby like the different scales like in real life and like manipulating it based on this is kind of the easiest way that I used to do it. Is having like a human scale and modeling things based on that. So I have what Badriyah's size would like typically be in the game, which is 160 centimeters. I have that. And I'm trying to model everything based on the human scale that I have so that it looks realistic when you're playing the game. So right now, imagine this is Badriyah, and then this is the wall that I guess she has to climb up to get to the next level. So it's not I don't have the picture here for the scaling. The picture is more a reference so that when I'm adding the details, like the ridges here, or the doors, the different details on it, basically, I have a visual reference so that I can do the correct thing. But the scaling that I'm doing is based on the size of Badriyah, because everything will be in her point of view in the game. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so okay, so again, holding the right button and going to face. Okay, so now pressing tab and then dragging the mouse along, being careful not to include other faces. Okay, yeah, so now I'm going to extrude again by clicking Command E and then going here to control the thickness. So this one is going to be less, as you can see in the picture. It's going to be not as wide. And again, all of these this is just like a general outline of the asset. So all the details and like everything is going to be like fixed later. So again, clicking spacebar because I want to see how it looks from the top. So just dragging out. Okay. Okay, so this looks good so far. I'm just gonna, again, see how Badriyah fits into this. So she starts from the bottom and she climbs at the top. Okay, so it looks like there's not much space between here. So again, that's something that I'd have to fix. But let's extrude the other faces for now before we get to that. Okay. So again, doing the same thing. Pictures disappearing. Okay, so going to these, okay, I'm not going to reduce this actually. I'm going to leave this how it is. And instead, I'm going to reduce the top because this is already fine. So again, holding tab, dragging along, making sure not to touch the faces that aren't involved. Okay. Oops. And then now I'm going to click extrude, Control E, but instead of dragging to the right to increase, I'm going to drag to the left to decrease. And it's kind of slow because we're working at a really, okay, yes, I just identified a mistake that I made. Okay, so let me explain this. So the reason why these are faces that aren't reducing with these sides, and that's because I didn't include these faces. So that's a mistake that you guys shouldn't make if you're practicing. So I'm trying to decrease this whole thing, but because I'm working with faces, these stay the same. So I need to include these faces in my extrusion. So dragging along the top. Yes, so now I'm going to, wait, hold on. Let me go back. Yeah. The reason why I went back is because when you click on like a face or something and then you click on extrude, but then you don't actually do anything with it, it creates an extra face and that's going to cause some annoying problems later. So I'm starting again. So dragging. Okay. So Command E and then reduce. It's kind of slow because, okay, actually, so hold on. Okay. So let me just explain what I did there. So dragging the faces again. Okay, so Command E. So notice how when I'm decreasing, when I'm scaling down, it's also reducing the height. I accidentally added Badriyah as well. Let me take her off. Okay. Look, it included Badriyah. So let me start again. Um, okay, so now Badriyah is not included. Okay, so Command E. And notice how when I'm decreasing the thickness, it's also decreasing the height, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to go to the normal scaling gizmo, which is here, or you can, a shortcut on your keyboard is by clicking R. And then when you're using these gizmos, if you, so you have the, like the blue in the middle, which is scaling down everything down at the same time, which is what the thickness tool did. And then you have the different ones, like green is going to scale along the y-axis and things like that. But if I wanted to scale everything except the y-axis, because I don't want to decrease the height, you go to, you click on this green button to scale everything but the height, which is green. It's actually yellow right now, but it's the same thing. So yeah, so it looks like a birthday cake right now. But yeah, this is the basic outline of the castle. Now there are extra. Also, the reason why I'm modeling like this, like starting with a cylinder and not worrying about the inside, is because for our game, Badriyah is not going to be entering the castle. She's going to be playing completely from the outside. So I don't need to worry about anything that's going on inside because I don't need that. Yeah, so another detail from the castle that you can see is these like the fence basically around it. So that's the next thing that I'm going to be doing. So to do that, I'm gonna use I'm gonna go to Mesh Tools and go to Insert Edge Loop, which I'm going to use to extrude the faces and basically do the process again. I'm gonna click on Options to make sure that, okay, I want one edge loop, not two. So I'm gonna change that here, and then I'm gonna exit. And then, yeah, edge loop. So then you have to click to drag on edges. So I want to create an edge loop like around here. So click on, actually no. Let me go to Mesh Tools again. I want multiple. Let me see. 3. No. Or yeah, 3. And I'm just going to click on the edges. It didn't really create them equally because, but it's okay. We can work with that. Okay, so so I'm going to click on this edge, but I want the whole like edge loop. To do that, you have to double click, and then it gives you the whole thing. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do this. Okay, I want to move it a bit closer to the edge. So I am going to do that. You use the scale tool. So R is the shortcut, and then this moves it closer to the end of the thing. Yes, I'm just going to quickly demonstrate how to create this effect. Okay, so I'm going to go back to face mode, and I'm going to extrude all of these at the same time instead of separately. So click on the faces, just go around and click on faces. Yes, and the reason why I'm doing it all at the same time is because I want them to be at the same height. Okay, so now, again, Command E to extrude, and then thickness. Where is Badriyah? Let's say I want it to be, okay, first let me move Badriyah into here so I can see how she fares against the wall. Because this is going to be like the flat platform that she'd stand on, so the wall needs to be taller than her. Okay. Command E to continue extruding. Oh God, Badriyah is included again. Okay. Yes. Or I don't need to extrude actually. I can just move up. Okay, so this looks good. Imagine this is Badriyah. I'd have to increase this so it doesn't feel as tight as it is. Or we could leave it like that. W, what do you think? Let's say the gyms are like running around here. Do you think we should make it like wider?
Honestly, I think it would be very scary walking through there as a small human with jinns chasing after you. But
Yeah.
we'll have to see hopefully tomorrow's gray boxing level design stream. maybe that could be a point we bring up to Itisham while he's grey boxing.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave it like that for now. Yeah, so now moving on to the next one. These aren't exactly the same size, like the thickness of the, but for purpose of demonstration, let me continue. Okay, so just going around. I'm trying to go a bit faster because I know the live stream is almost coming to an end. Okay, yeah, so I don't need to extrude. No, I do need to extrude actually, because if I move it upwards like this, can you see what's happening? It's stretching. So I do need to extrude. Just making sure only those faces up. Okay, so Command E, and then increasing the thickness. And yeah, now I can continue to move it. Yeah, they're about the same size. Okay. And then now going on to the next thing. Okay, just need to make sure I didn't accidentally select a face that I wasn't meant to. Okay, that looks good. Again, Command E. Increasing the thickness. Moving it up. Yeah, that's about. Oh, look, I made a mistake here. I accidentally extruded these as well. Okay, I can fix that. Just gonna extrude in the opposite direction, I guess. Yeah, forgot to. Okay. I'll fix that later. Okay, so yeah, this should be taller. So I'm gonna select these faces as well as the, actually no, I can just select these faces for this because all I'm doing is moving this up. And this doesn't stretch anything because it was just connected to this. Okay. And also, okay, this is another detail. Notice how at the top, oops, at the top here, it kind of gets narrower. It's not just straight up. So now that I've moved this up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the scale tool to decrease this face. And everything, yeah. And then the bottom will kind of stay similar, okay. Yeah, so we've got the general, the very, very general shape of the castle. So that's how I like model the different objects. I get the like very basics before I actually start adding details and making sure everything looks good. But yeah, I also need to do an extrusion at the top, but we'll do that later. Okay, so now that we have extruded these faces, I want to create these ridges, like a very basic shape of these ridges. So I'm just going to do a quick demonstration of what will happen if, like the smartest thing to do would be to click on a face and then decrease it. But okay. Okay, yeah. So I have this face and I want to create a shape similar to that. So I'd click on this face I'd extrude again. So that's what I mean, like the extrude tool is like the most useful one. I'd bring it up a bit to like the same kind of height as that. And I'd decrease, like in terms of scale, I'd decrease this, right? And then this, I could do that again to create the kind of, let me extrude again. Oopsie. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and I could keep doing that until I get kind of the same shade. So extruding and then using the scale to decrease. Now I could do that. This is too big, but I could do that on each one going around, but that would be too long. So I'm going to try to do that all at the same time.
Debbie, someone asked in the chat, will you make more subdivisions to make it look like, I think what they mean is to make it look more like the fort, because the fort has really, really small ones all together, not big extrusions yet.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that. Me quickly doing this was like a demonstration of like how to create the basic shape, but that would take too long to do each individually. So to create more subdivisions, again, go to Mesh Tools, and then insert edge loop. I'm going to do one because I'm going to do one for each here in the middle and then see how that looks. Okay, yeah, so this is, I think this is fine. This is kind of the, okay, I'm not clicking the exact edge, okay. Okay, yeah, so you just go around clicking on each edge and then it'll create the different subdivisions. I still need to fix that. Okay, actually, the image plane keeps getting in the way, so I'm gonna add it to a layer and then make it not visible for now. So by doing, so you click on the image plane and then, yes, this button, create a new layer and assign selected objects. And then this V means visible. Okay, I added the wrong object. Okay, let me go to, for some reason that's not working. Okay, well, we're just gonna ignore that because for some reason it's not allowing me to select it. When you select an object, this green outline appears about it. Okay. So I'm gonna keep on adding the edge loops again. So go back to Mesh Tools, insert edge loop. And then you click on, oh God, okay, click on the edge. Okay, looking good. Okay, so every one of them is now subdivided. And we could always do that again, but I think this is fine for now. Okay, so going back to face mode. Okay, let me just quickly see something. So let's say, okay, that is what I wanted to demonstrate. But, okay, let me see. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is because the best way for me to do this, like not one at a time, is to do every other one first. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna go around and click every other one of these faces. Okay, and then you decrease, you scale it, but as you can see, it's scaling everything to like a common center. Okay, I've been trying to find a way, the best way to do it without doing it individually, but I feel like I'm gonna have to end up doing something like that. Let me see if I can do three at the same time, actually. Oh my God, okay.
Debbie, while you're working, can I just say that this seems like a lot of trial and error and pain, but then
Yeah,
at the end, it will be worth it. Um, it's been really good watching this fourth cake come to life on stream, honestly.
fruit cake.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm gonna continue doing the every other thing. It is what W said is so true. Like, well, for me, it is quite painful, and I've only been 3D modeling for I think 6 months now. No, not 6 months actually. I learned 4 months ago. And it's really rewarding, like being able to model like your assets from scratch rather than getting everything from the Unity asset store because you can make it look how you want to look. But like the more you practice, then the easier it will get. Like you can see me, I'm still like learning like how to, like the best way to do things. You can always do things like in the quick, like easiest way, but then you'd kind of there are like better way to do things basically. But yeah, it takes a lot of patience. Okay, so now I'm gonna extrude upwards a bit, and then I am going to scale. You can change the axis of scale here. So right now I'm on component mode. Yes, good. Okay, no, yes. And then we could do more. Okay, so let me extrude again. Just a bit. And then, yeah, and then maybe one more time, Command E, and then scale. This is a general shape, but we can use the bevel tool to smoothen out the edges later on. So now I'm going to do the other edges. The reason why I didn't do everything at once is because when I tried to, it didn't give me this effect. There's probably a way to do it, but okay. Yay, okay, so everything is done. Okay, so now Command E, bring it up to okay. It would have been nice to do this all at once, but it's fine. Okay, so now R2, which is a shortcut to scale. And then Command E again. And then R. And then Command E. And then R. Okay, so as you can see, this is the general shape of the outline of the castle. And this is how, if I was good, I think the live stream is coming to an end basically. But if I was to continue, I'd do the same thing for every level until it generally looked like this. And then what I'd do after making the general shape is like smoothing out the edges and actually adding those like details that would make it look even much like better than how it looks right now. But it looks like we didn't do that much, but it took quite some time, like trying to get everything how it's meant to look. 3D modeling it's hard, but it's rewarding and it's fun. And once you get the hang of like the tools, it's really nice if you're like making a game. But yeah, I think I'm done for today in terms of creating the castle. I think what I'm going to do next week is do a workshop on how to create like different minimal objects that would appear in Badriyah's house. But it was very nice like meeting all of you today, and I hope that you enjoyed watching this live stream, and I hope that you basically enjoyed watching me, go through like my work process, and I hope you join next week. But yeah, that's basically it from my side. W, do you have anything else to say?
I was actually typing it in chat, but thank you, Debbie, for sharing your process. It was really interesting. And I never knew that it could be so hard. As you said, it looks so simple, but it took so long and there's so much trial and error in the process. So just thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dabia. And thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Make sure to comment if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to go over next week. But yeah, thank you so much. And see you soon.